Hey everyone, and welcome to day one of the holiday series for this year. I cannot believe it has been 3 years since I've done a holiday series, but let's jump right into it. I'm starting out with this red piece of cardstock, which I have used the My Favorite Things diagonal stripes background die on, and I just used some Versamark ink on that to get a tone-on-tone background. I'm then taking the Lawn Fawn Stitched Circles die, and I've die cut a circle out of just some basic white cardstock. And now I'm going to move on to the focal point of my card. I'm using the Hero Arts Color Layering Christmas Tree stamp set, and I'm using 3 shades of green. I started out with Freshly Cut Grass, Simon Says Stamp Green Apple, and then Simon Says Stamp Olive. But the green apple was not dark enough from the freshly cut grass. So I did end up going back and restamping that with Simon Says Stamp Green Leaf ink. So excuse my head for getting in the way, but I wanted to make sure that I positioned the tree right in the center of the die cut. Now I did use my stamp press for this. You can use a clear acrylic block. This was actually before I had my MISTI tool, so otherwise I would have used that as my tool of choice to get the stamping just perfect, but anything will work fine. So next I'm going in with this green apple ink from Simon Says Stamp. Again, I did end up doing this layer a little bit later on with the Simon Says Stamp green leaf because it gave more of a contrast for the Lawn Fawn freshly cut grass color. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the third layer of this tree with the Simon Says Stamp Olive ink. Now this stamp set is very forgiving. If you don't line it up exactly perfectly, you honestly cannot tell the difference because it just gives extra spruce to the tree. So I'm going in with my third layer with the Simon Says Stamp Olive ink, and you can see here that the green apple ink from Simon Says Stamp gets lost between the Lawn Fawn Freshly Cut Grass and the Simon Says Stamp Olive. So I'm going back in with that second layer and stamping that with the Simon Says Stamp Green Leaf. And once I've stamped that, you'll see that it stands out quite a bit more and gives it that dimension that I was looking for. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and grab the last layer of the stamp set for the tree, and I'm going in with some Lawn Fawn Yeti White ink. This is a pigment ink, so it's going to take a little bit longer to dry. I will heat set it, but you can see that when I stamp it, it is not very vibrant. It gets a little bit lost with the other colors, and it does blend in. But what I'm doing is I'm going to use it as a guideline to apply some liquid applique to it. Now, this stuff is pretty nifty. It comes in a squeeze tube. I'm literally just squeezing a little bit onto the spots where I stamped the white and just creating a zigzag pattern. Once I have applied it onto all of the tree front, what I'm going to do is let my heat gun heat up a little bit, and then I am going to heat set this, and what it does is it makes it really puffy. It adds a really fun and cute element onto this tree and just adds that little bit of dimension that you probably wouldn't expect from it. You can see here the raised dimension that this liquid applique applies to the tree. I just think it's just so much fun. So once I've gone ahead and done that, it's time to put the rest of the card together. I'm using the Lawn Fawn Toboggan Together stamp set, and I'm using the Merry Christmas sentiment that's scripty. And what I'm going to do is I want to form it to go onto the bottom of my die cut circle. So I'm just lightly applying it onto a block, and I'm taking each end and curving it, taking my time to position it exactly the way I would like it so that it fits the bottom of this die cut perfectly. Once I've gone ahead and got it lined just the way I like it, I'm going to go ahead and apply my EK Success powder tool to avoid any additional cling on my cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment with some Versamark ink, and then I'm using the Ranger's Super Fine Detailed Gold Embossing Powder, and I'm going to heat set that on the bottom of this panel. Once I've heat set the sentiment, I'm moving on to the rest of the card. I'm taking a strip of gold glitter cardstock, and I'm just cutting approximately a 1-inch strip, and I'm going to apply that down the center of my card front, which is some snail adhesive. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and apply it onto the card front. And I'm just trimming off the excess with a pair of scissors so that it lines up perfectly with my card front. I wanted to pop up this die cut circle onto the front of my card. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the same die that I used to cut the circle, and I'm just taking a pen and I'm tracing inside the circle. That way I know that it is slightly smaller than the actual die cut, and I'm cutting this out of some fun foam to give it some dimension. And once I've completed cutting it, I'm going to use some Be Creative tape or some score tape to apply it onto the back of the die cut circle and onto my card front panel. This tape is fantastic because it is extremely secure and a very strong adhesive, so I know that it will not move or shift when it is in the mail getting delivered. Next, I'm going to apply my card front onto my card base. This is just some craft cardstock, and my card front actually takes up the whole front of my A2 size card, measuring 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I did have a little bit hanging off the edge there, so I did trim it up to align it perfectly. The last thing I'll be doing is I'll be taking some Christmas red stickles, and I thought that this tree just needed a little bit something extra, so just applying a few dots all over the tree, and that completes my first card for the holiday card series for 2017. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this first card, and I will be back real soon with card number 2. As always, there's a link down below in the description box, which will take you over to my blog with a list of all the supplies used on this card.